You're 18, on your knees at 3 in the morning, pulling sockeye out of a gillnet by their gills, while jellyfish burn welts across your forearms. 19 years later, you're the one on the wheel, running a $175,000 permit through a 6-foot chop in Bristol Bay with 18,000 pounds of salmon in the hold and 4 people's summers riding on where you set. Between those two moments is a job that kills 88.8 workers per 100,000, a marriage that ends in a gravel lot in Homer, and a right hand that never fully closes again. This is every level of a fisherman's life. You're 18. Your first boat pays you a 5% crew share, which means you make nothing until the season ends, and you're not even fishing yet. You're the Greenhorn. You coil line. You scrub the hold with bleach until your fingertips split. You pick fish, which means kneeling in a pile of them and working each one backward out of the mesh with your thumbs, one at a time. $400 an hour if you're any good, and you're not. Your Alaska crew license costs $60 if you're a resident, $252 if you're not, and you paid it out of money you didn't have yet. The hold is 38 degrees, the rain is horizontal. You sleep 4 hours in a bunk, the width of a coffin with a diesel heater cooking your face, and your boots still on because you'll be up in 90 minutes. They don't call you by your name, they call you the Greenie, or just hey. Day 9, a wave hits while you're on the stern, and the cork line snaps taut across your shin, and puts you flat on the deck in 3 inches of slime and fish blood. Nobody stops. The skiffman steps over you. You get up because the net is still coming, and you know the numbers because everybody told you before you came. Fishing and hunting workers had a fatal injury rate of 88.8 per 100,000 full-time workers in 2024, second deadliest occupation in America, against a national average of 3.3. Over an 18-year NIOSH study window, commercial fishermen died at 114 per 100,000. Then, week 5, the hydraulics jam mid-set, and you clear the block before the deck boss reaches it. Good hands. You're 22. You're a full deckhand on a 32-foot Bristol Bay gillnetter. Welcome to the only job in America where you can work 3 months straight and find out in August that you made nothing. You're on a 9% crew share now. On a good year, that's $20,000 for 6 weeks, minus about $3,000 in expenses the skipper deducts off the top for fuel, groceries, and gear. On a bad year, and 2023 was one, when Bristol Bay processors dropped the sockeye base price to 50 cents a pound from $1.15 the year before, that same 9% is $8,000, and you fly home in debt. Meanwhile, the official numbers say fishing and hunting workers make a median around $36,630 a year. Nobody actually earns the median. You earn what the fish do. During the peak, you fish 20 hours a day for 11 days. You eat standing up. Your hands lock into a claw shape overnight, the guys call it the claw, and you run them under hot water for 10 minutes every morning to get your fingers to open. The gear is yours. Grundon's bibs and jacket, $300. Extra tough boots, $145, and you'll go through 2 pairs in 3 seasons. Gloves, $6 a pair, and you burn through 40 pairs a summer. Knife, sharpener, headlamp, rain gear repair tape, a survival suit if the boat doesn't supply $700. Call it $1,800 before you catch a single fish, and everyone medicates. Ibuprofen, 4 at a time, called deck candy, Copenhagen, instant coffee mixed double strength in a mug that never gets washed, whiskey in the harbor the night the season closes. All of it, in one night. You learn the language. Picking is pulling fish from the mesh. The cork line floats the top of the net. The lead line sinks the bottom. A brailer is the bag that lifts your catch to the tender. A dry haul is a set that comes back empty. The pick is the anchor. A highliner is the boat that consistently outfishes the fleet. Lumpers offload you at the dock. The slime line is the processing plant nobody wants to end up on. And a sleeper is a fish you missed in the net that goes to the buyer soft and costs the whole boat money. And that language is the only thing keeping you from putting your arm through a power block in the next 30 seconds. You're 29. You're the lead deckhand, the one the skipper trusts. You're on a 12% share and you also crew a winter longline season, so you clear about $61,000 a year across 2 fisheries. You are now responsible for every mistake 3 other people make, and credited for none of the fish. You run the deck. You set the net and you're the one who calls it back. You train the Greenhorn the skipper hired off a Facebook post in April. You keep the hydraulics alive with a crescent wrench and hose clamps 90 miles from the nearest parts counter. The hours don't have shape anymore. During a Bristol Bay opener, you're up 20 out of 24 for 11 days. In the Gulf on longline gear, it's 6-hour rotations for 18 days straight, and by day 12 you hallucinate a light on the horizon that isn't there. That's where the marriage goes. Not in a fight, in the arithmetic. 6 months a year on the water, no phone signal, 2 Christmases missed out of 5. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing carries the highest occupational fatality rate in the country and one of the highest rates of alcohol use disorder and suicide of any industry group. Everybody in the harbor knows a guy, most know 3, and your body keeps the ledger: 2 crushed fingertips from a hatch cover, a shoulder-torn hauling gear and a swell that you never got scanned, chronic tendinitis in both wrists from picking, fisherman's claw permanent by 35, hearing gone in the range of the deck radio from years next to a diesel with no ear protection. You have no employer health insurance, because you're not an employee, you're a share fisherman. A dislocated shoulder and neck costs you $4,200 out of pocket, and the flight to Anchorage costs more than the treatment. Then one afternoon you read the tide and the color of the water, and you tell the skipper to set 400 yards east of where he wanted, and the net comes back so heavy the boat lists. You call it next time, and for that 1 second it's worth everything. You're 36, you run somebody else's boat, your name isn't on it, but your judgment is. A hired skipper on a Bristol Bay drifter takes 12 to 15% of the gross, plus the boat's fuel and repair headaches, which on a strong season is $70,000 to $110,000 for 8 weeks, and on a broken one is $28,000, and an owner who blames you. The captain's share on most boats runs 35 to 40% before the crew splits the rest, but that's for the person who owns the permit, and you don't. You don't pick fish anymore. You stand in the house with a plotter, a sounder, and a fleet radio full of people lying to you about where the fish are. You miss it. You go out on deck for 1 set a week and take too long and everybody notices. You fire a 20-year-old in Dillingham because he showed up on the second opener still drunk, and you can't have that man on a deck with a running block. You keep 3 people fed, awake, and unhurt for 6 weeks. You stand between them and an owner who wants 30,000 pounds a day out of a boat that honestly makes 18,000. The money math never leaves you alone. Fuel is 20 to 25% of gross on a hard-running boat. Crew shares are 30 to 40%. Insurance, moorage, gear, and tender fees eat the next slice, and the owner's margin on a mediocre year rounds to 0. Base price is set by processors after you've already delivered. You catch the fish before you know what they're worth. Then the season turns. Fish and game shortens the opener to 12 hours. The run comes in 3 days late, and the whole fleet is stacked in one district. You put the boat somewhere nobody else went, on nothing but the temperature of the water and a memory from 2018. 400 boats east, you alone west. The net goes in the water at 6:40 p.m. You find out at 4 in the morning, alone in the house, everyone else asleep, watching the cork line for the first twitch. You're 43. You buy the thing that makes you a fisherman instead of a worker, a permit. A Bristol Bay drift permit trades between $145,000 and $190,000 depending on the year and the run forecast. A limited entry card transferable, and the state hasn't issued a new one since the 1970s. A 32-foot glass gillnetter with refrigerated seawater and a decent net package brings the total to $275,000 to $350,000 for a working boat and permit package. You finance it with a state fisheries loan and a second mortgage on a house in Anacortes. Your spouse signs the second page. Neither of you talks on the drive home. The first 3 years, you are the boat. You do your own hull work in the yard in April with a grinder and a respirator. You hang your own gear in a cold shop in February, 60 hours a week, unpaid, so you don't lose $9,000 to a net loft. You're gone from May to September. Your daughter learns to ride a bike while you're in Knockneck. You get her Octobers, and the arithmetic is brutal. Fishing and hunting employment is projected to decline 5% through 2034. The price is set by 4 processors. 1 bad run, 1 blown engine, 1 season shortened by 60%, and the loan doesn't care. Year 4, it turns. The run comes in enormous. You're in the right district on the right tide for 11 straight days. You deliver 218,000 pounds. You pay the note down by half in 1 summer, and the next year you do it again, and the year after that you buy a second permit and put your old deck boss on it. Year 11, a Seattle-based fishing group that's been consolidating permits, sits across from you at a table in Dillingham with a folder. 2 permits, 2 boats, your gear, your history, your numbers, $1.6 million. Cash at closing, and you fish 1 more season under their flag for a transition fee. That night you walk the boat in the harbor after everyone's gone. The hull ticks as it cools. There's a hand-cut wooden cleat on the bow you made in year 1 because you couldn't afford the aluminum one, and it's still there and it still holds. You do the math out loud on an empty deck. The note, the house, your shoulder. How many more junets you've got in you? Maybe 8, maybe 4. You sign it in a glass building in Seattle with a lawyer who has never smelled a fish hold. The boat keeps your name on the transom for one more season. It's in the agreement. Then she comes out of the water in October and goes into the yard, and in April she's back with new paint and a new name in white vinyl. You watch from the dock, because you're a consultant now, and the consultant has a call at 9. You're 57. You drive down to the harbor once a year, usually in June, usually without deciding to. She's still fishing. Different name, different kid on the bow doing what you did at 18, and he doesn't know the cleat is yours. You're up at 4:10 every morning, and it isn't discipline. It's your shoulder. Your right hand doesn't open all the way before noon. Both wrists ache before weather, reliably enough that your neighbors ask you for a forecast. You can't hear anything under the hum of a room. Salt cracked the skin at the corners of your eyes 40 years ago, and it never fully healed. The work paid for a house with a view of water you never look at. It put your daughter through nursing school with no debt. It bought the truck your son drives. The money was a gamble. The hours were worse. The body never came back. But every summer for 39 years you pulled food out of the ocean with your own 2 hands and put it on tables of people who will never know your name. That's the trade. That's the bill. That's the fisherman's life.